Well, good afternoon, ladies and germs. This is Dancing Dan Curtis, and you've just tuned into the Voyage of Rock and Roll. Today, we're going to be covering the year 1960, and we're going to spend 3 hours covering 1960. We're going to tell you what was going on in the music world, what was happening on TV, what was in the movies, and the history of what was going on in the year 1960. We're going to start things off with a music sweep starting in 1950, and we're going to sweep all the way up to 1959.
Made of stone. Sincerely, Davy Crockett, the king of the wild frontier. You gotta dance with me, Henry.
Had your first lesson in learning the blues.
There's a yellow rose in Texas that I am gonna sing. Ain't that a shame? My tears fell like rain. Love is a many splendid thing. Day older and deeper in debt. One girl, one boy, some grief, some joy. Memories are made of this. The memories you gave. Oh yes, I'm the great pretender. We did the rock and roll. Take a walk down the wooden street to heartbreak whatever you will do. And the wayward wind is a restless wind. Almost lost my mind. My friend is a rapture in bloom. Don't be cruel. Heart is true. There's an old piano and they play it hot behind the green door. Love me tender, love me sweet. You got me singing the blues. Don't forbid me to hold you tight. Just one kiss from your sweet lips will tell me that your love is real, and I can feel that it's true. 'Cause I'm crazy about you, you butterfly. Find a wheel, and it goes round, round, round as it skims along with a happy sound. My friends say I'm acting wild as a bug. I'm in love. I'm all shook up, riding wild weather, and the sound of the music, all that is new. Oh, dee baby. Tammy's in love. What a darn good life when you got a wife like a honeycomb. Wake up, Lily Susie, wake up. Everybody in old Singapore will dance to the jailhouse rock. Darling, you send me April love. Well, you can rock and you can roll and do witch doctor, I was in love with you. Dream, 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 dream. It was a one-eyed, one-horn flying purple people eater.
You ain't gonna rock and roll no more.
Don't know that.
I was a fool. Oh, Lolly. Oh, where are you, little star? Where are you? May a tear have to fall, but it's all in the game. My one and only prayer is that someday you'll care. Hang down your head, Tom, to lead. Hang down your head and cry.
No, 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 him is to love, love, love him.
Very good, boys. No, that's enough.
Smoke gets in your eyes. I love the girl with sunlight in her hair.
Come softly, darling. Come softly, darling.
Kansas City, here I come.
They ran so fast that the hounds couldn't catch a bone. Down the Mississippi to the Gulf of Mexico.
I'm just a lonely boy, lonely and blue. All the chapel bells were ringing. Could that someone be Mac the Knife? Mr. Heartaches by the number, troubles by the score. I'll never let you go. Why? Because I love you. I'll always love you so. Why? Because you love me.
The 60s were a time of change, counterculture, and political movements. Many young people involved themselves in trying to make America a better place for all people, no matter what gender or race they were. The 60s began with the election of America's youngest president, John F. Kennedy. During his period of office, people stepped out and said how they felt. They thought that with Kennedy leading America, anything was possible. By 1963, another great leader began to draw attention to another important issue. The treatment of African Americans. Martin Luther King Jr. had such composure and such dignity that hearing him publicly speak was not only a privilege, but an honor. King inspired people and made them believe that they would make a difference. King believed in nonviolent protest against segregation and racial discrimination. Many people, blacks and whites alike, joined his march on Washington in 1963, and others later helped change the way Americans treated one another. The assassination of President Kennedy in November 1963 shocked the country. Violence in the South was still in the headlines as a black church in Alabama was blown up, killing 4 children inside. In 1964, President Johnson declared war on poverty and promised Americans a great society. The Civil Rights Act in 1964 and Voting Rights Act of 1965 became law. Rioting in Watts in 1965 nearly destroyed Los Angeles, and Americans increasingly grew opposed to the war in Vietnam. The war had burst into the country's living rooms on the nightly news like an open floodgate, and many of the country were horrified at what they saw. 1968 was a year of great tragedy. Both Martin Luther King and Robert Kennedy were assassinated. The Democratic National Convention was the scene of horrible violence. There were some bright moments. Man orbited the Earth for the first time in Apollo 8, and in 1968, and at the close of the decade, America entered a new frontier as Neil Armstrong walked on the moon for the very first time.
Oh, you need time. A tick, a tick, a tick, a good time.
or the other way around. But he had timing, a tick, a tick, a tick, a good timing. A talk, a talk, a talk, a talk, a timing is a thing. It's true, good timing brought me to you. Who in the world would have ever known what the lovers could do? If Queen Isabella hadn't hawked her jewels in 1492, but she had timing, a tick, a tick, a tick, a good timing. A talk, a talk, a talk, a talk, a timing is a thing. It's true, good timing brought me to you. What would have happened if you and I hadn't just happened to meet? We might have spent the rest of our lives walking down Misery Street, but we had timing, a tick, a tick, a tick, a good timing. A talk, a talk, a talk, a talk, a timing is a thing. It's true, good timing brought me to you. Yeah, we had timing, whoa, 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 good timing. Yeah, 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 timing is a thing. It's true, good timing brought me to you. Yeah, we had timing, whoa, 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 good timing.
And that's Jimmy Jones from 1960 here on the Voyage of Rock and Roll. Stay tuned. We'll have more of the year 1960 when we return.
You're listening to Dancin' Dan and the Voyage of Rock and Roll on SOS Radio, the sound of the Strand.
And welcome back to the Voyage of Rock and Roll, the year 1960. The Cold War continued to become colder as the two sides distrusted the other more and tried to influence other parts of the world. John Kennedy and Lyndon Johnson won the presidency with one of the smallest margins in history, 113,000 votes out of 68.3 million. The sexual revolution of the 60s had begun with the use of birth control pills and Hugh Hefner opening the first of his Playboy clubs in Chicago. The Flintstones is shown on television for the first time, and the movies this year include The Magnificent Seven and Psycho. Notable technical achievements include the invention of the laser and a heart pacemaker. France tests the first atomic bomb and joins those countries with nuclear bomb technology. Notable names that appear in the limelight that year include Cassius Clay and Sir Francis Chichester. The U.S. sends the first troops to Vietnam following the French withdrawal in 1954 in the fight against communist North Vietnamese. Here's the Everly Brothers from 1960, Let It Be Me.
I bless the day I found you. I want to stay around you, and so I beg you, let it be me. Don't take this heaven from one if you must cling to someone now and forever. Let it be me. Each time we meet, love, I find complete love without your sweet love. What would life be? So never leave me lonely. Tell me you love me only, and that you'll always let it be me. Each time we meet, love, I find complete love without your sweet love. What would life be? So never leave me lonely. Tell me you love me only,
cost of living in 1960, the average cost of a new house was $12,700. Average monthly rent was only $98. Cost of a gallon of gas, 25 cents. And you needed a car to put that gas in. A new car was only $2,600. A 23-inch television set was $219.95, and a can of beef ravioli was only 30 cents. A loaf of bread was 20 cents, and men's electric shaver was $20.30. And a Polaroid land camera, and if you look back, it seemed quite expensive, but this was the only way to see your photo nearly instantly. A Polaroid camera was $93.45. Here's Bobby Darin, Beyond the Sea.
Somewhere beyond the sea, somewhere waiting for me, my lover stands on golden sands and watches the ships that go sailing. Somewhere beyond the sea, if I could fly like birds on high, then straight to her arms I'd go sailing. It's far beyond the star, it's near beyond the moon. I know beyond a doubt my heart will lead me there soon. Beyond the shore, we'll kiss just as before. Happy we'll be beyond the sea, and never again I'll go sailing.
Every other song that I've heard lately, some fellow gets shot, and his baby and his best friend both die with him, as likely as not. In half of the other songs, some cats crying are ready to die. We've lost most all of our happy people, and I'm a-wondering why. Let's think about living. Let's think about loving. Let's think about the hooping and the hopping and the bopping and the loving, lovey-dovey. Let's forget about the whine and the crying, the shooting and the dying, and the fellow with a switchblade knife. Let's think about living. Let's think about life. We lost old Marty Robbins down in El Paso a little while back, and now Miss Patty Page, or one of them, is wearing black. And Kathy's clown has Don and Phil where they feel like they could die. If we keep on losing our singers like that, I'll be the only one you can buy. Let's think about living. Let's think about loving. Let's think about the hooping and the hopping and the bopping and the lovey-dovey. Let's forget about the whining and the crying and the shooting and the dying and the fellow with a switchblade knife. Let's think about living. Let's think about life. Let's think about living. Let's think about loving. Let's think about the hooping and the hopping and the bopping and the lovey-dovey. Let's forget about the whining and the crying and the shooting and the dying and the fellow with a switchblade knife. Let's think about living. Let's think about life. Let's think about living. Let's think about life. Let's think about living. Let's think about life.
That's Bob Luman. Let's Think About Living from 1960. Over 100 million television sets are in use worldwide now, and the aluminum cans used for the very first time. The U.S. experimental rocket-powered airplane travels at 2,200 miles per hour, and Xerox introduces the first commercial document reproduction machine back in 1960. The United States launches the first weather satellite, the Tyros-1, and Dr. Kazuo Hashimoto invents the Anisphone, sold in the USA as the automatic telephone answering machine. Some inventions: the laser was invented in 1960, along with the heart pacemaker, a weather satellite, a vertical takeoff jet, and also the halogen lamp, all invented in 1960.
Devil or angel, I can't make up my mind which one you are. I'd like to wake up and find. Devil or angel, dear, whichever you are, I miss you, I miss you, I miss you. Devil or angel, please say you'll be mine. Love me or leave me, I'll go out of my mind. Devil or angel, dear, whichever you are, I need you, I need you, I need you. You look like an angel, your smile is divine, but you keep me guessing, will you ever be mine? Devil or angel, please say you'll be mine. Love me or leave me, I've made up my mind. Devil or angel, dear, whichever you are, I love you, I love you, I love you. devil or angel, please say you'll be mine. Love me or leave me, I've made up my mind. Devil or angel, dear, whichever you are, I love you, I love you, I love you.
And that's Bobby V, Devil or Angel from 1960. And when we return, we'll be talking about what was happening in the news in the year 1960.
Celebrate life, liberty, and the best in beach music on SOS Radio, the sound of the Strand.
And welcome back to the Voyage of Rock and Roll. And what was happening in the news in January, the U.S. Senator John F. Kennedy announces his candidacy for the Democratic presidential nomination. Also, in Washington, D.C., the National Association of Broadcasters reacts to the payola scandal by threatening fines for any disc jockeys who accepted money for playing particular records. And the National Football League announced expansion teams for Dallas to start in the 1960 NFL season and Minneapolis-St. Paul for the 1961 NFL season. Here's Jimmy Clanton. Go, Jimmy, go.
I told her when it comes to talking, I'm the sweetest sweet talker in the world. Well, she said, you better start talking if you want me to be your girl. And she said, go, Jimmy, go. Go, Jimmy, go. Well, I talked her off the floor when she said, go, Jimmy, go. I told her when it comes to dancing, I'm the best young dancer in the land. Well, she looked at me with a twinkle in her eye, and then she took my hand and she said, go, Jimmy, go. Go, Jimmy, go. Well, I talked her off the floor when she said, go, Jimmy, go. When it comes to kissing, I ain't nothing but a kissing fool. She started to giggle when I told her that our teacher thinks she never learned in school. And she said, go, Jimmy, go. Go, Jimmy, go. Well, I talked her off the floor when she said, go, Jimmy, go. Go, Jimmy, go.
And in February, in Greensboro, North Carolina, 4 black students from North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University begin a sit-in at a segregated Woolworth's lunch counter. Although they are refused service, they are allowed to stay at the counter. The event triggers many similar nonviolent protests throughout the southern United States, and 6 months later, the original 4 protesters are served lunch at the same counter. Joanne Woodward receives the first star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame in Southern California. And Adolph Coors III, the chairman of the board of the Coors Brewing Company, is kidnapped, and his captors demand a ransom of $500,000. Coors was later found murdered, and Joseph Corbett Jr. is indicted for the crime. Demolition of Ebbets Field, former home of baseball's Dodger, commences in Brooklyn, New York. Here's Steve Lawrence, Pretty Blue Eyes.
Thought I was in love before, and then you moved in next door. Pretty blue eyes, pretty blue eyes. All the guys from the neighborhood keep saying you sure look good with your blue eyes, pretty blue eyes. Saw you from my window, my heart skipped a beat. Gonna sit by your doorstep so that I can meet pretty blue eyes. Please come out today so I can tell you what I have to say, that I love you, pretty blue eyes. Saw you from my window, my heart skipped a beat. Gonna sit by your doorstep so that I can meet pretty blue eyes. Please come out today so I can tell you what I have to say, that I love you, pretty blue eyes, pretty blue eyes, pretty blue eyes.
Well, way down yonder in New Orleans, in the land of the dreamy seas, there's a garden of Eden. You know what I mean? Yeah, Creole babies with flashing eyes, softly whisper with tender sighs, and then you stop. Oh, won't you give your lady fair a little smile, and then you stop. You bet your life you'll linger there a little while. Yeah, there is heaven right here on earth with the beautiful queen. Yeah, way down yonder in New Orleans. Woo! Way down yonder in New Orleans, woo! In the land of the dreamy seas, there's a garden of Eden. You know what I mean? Well, Creole babies with flashing eyes, softly whisper with tender sighs, and then you stop. Oh, won't you give your lady fair a little smile, and then you stop. You bet your life you linger there a little while. Yeah, there is heaven right here on earth with the beautiful queen. Well, way down yonder in New Orleans. Yeah! Woo!
In April of 1960, the 1960 United States Census begins. There are 179,323, 175 U.S. residents on this day. All people from Latin America are listed as white, including blacks from the Dominican Republic, European whites from the Argentina, and Mexicans who resemble Native Americans. At the 32nd Academy Awards ceremony, Ben-Hur wins a record number of Oscars, including Best Picture, and Elvis Presley's song, Are You Lonesome Tonight, is recorded for the first time. Eric Peugeot, the youngest son of the founder of the Peugeot Corporation, is kidnapped in Paris. Then he's released on April 15th in exchange for $300,000 in ransom and probably a new Peugeot. that's Miss Toni Fisher from 1960, and that's called The Big Hurt. More news. In May, several Soviet surface-to-air missiles shoot down an American Lockheed U-2 spy plane. Its pilot, Francis Gary Powers of the Central Intelligence Agency, is captured. Also, President of the United States Dwight D. Eisenhower signs the Civil Rights Act of 1960 into law, and the U.S. Food and Drug Administration announces that it will approve birth control as an additional indication for Seral's Anovid, making it the world's first approved oral contraceptive pill. The satellite Sputnik 4 is launched into orbit by the Soviet Union, and Soviet Premier Nikita Khrushchev demands an apology from the President Dwight D. Eisenhower for the U-2 reconnaissance plane flights over the Soviet Union, thus aborting the summit meeting scheduled for Paris in 1960. Theodore Mailman operates the first laser, all that happening in May 1960.
I'm sorry, so sorry that I was such a fool. I didn't know love could be so cruel. Oh, yes. You tell me a part of being young, but I don't right the wrong that's been done. I'm sorry, so sorry. Please accept my apology, but love is blind, and I was too blind to see. Oh, yeah. You tell me mistakes are part of being young, but I don't right the wrong that's been done. Oh, yes. I'm sorry, so sorry. Please accept my apology, but love was blind, and I was too blind to see.
That's Brenda Lee from 1960, I'm Sorry. And when we return, we'll be talking about more news for the year 1960.
Internet radio at its best, with 58 minutes each hour of non-stop beach music, 24 hours a day.
It's a good station.
Your favorite beach music station, SOS Radio, the sound of the Strand.
She was afraid to come out of the locker. She was as nervous as she could be. She was afraid to come out of the locker. She was afraid that somebody would say,
2, 3, 4, tell the people what she was.
it was an itsy bitsy teeny weeny yellow polka dot bikini that she wore for the first time today. An itsy bitsy teeny weeny yellow polka dot bikini. So in the locker she wanted to stay.
2, 3, 4, stick around, we'll tell you more.
She was afraid to come out in the open, and so a blanket around her she wore. She was afraid to come out in the open, and so she sat bundled up on the shore.
2, 3, 4, tell the people what
what she wore. It was an itsy bitsy teeny weeny yellow polka dot bikini that she wore for the first time today. An itsy bitsy teeny weeny yellow polka dot bikini, so in the blanket she wanted to stay. 2, 3, 4, stick around, we'll tell you more. Now she's afraid to come out of the water, and I wonder what she's gonna do. Now she's afraid to come out of the water, and the poor little girl's turning blue. 2, 3, 4, tell the people what she wore. It was an itsy bitsy teeny weeny yellow polka dot bikini that she wore for the first time today. An itsy bitsy teeny weeny yellow polka dot bikini, so in the water she wanted to stay. From the locker to the blanket, from the blanket to the shore, from the shore to the water, guess there isn't any more.
Brian Hyland from 1960, and welcome back to the Voyage of Rock and Roll. Here's what was going on in June of 1960. U.S. Senator John F. Kennedy wins the California Democratic primary, and following the admission of the state of Hawaii as the 50th state in August 1959, the new 50-star flag of the United States is first officially flown over Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Harper Lee publishes her novel To Kill a Mockingbird, which later wins the Pulitzer Prize for the Best American Novel of 1960. The U.S. Senator John F. Kennedy is nominated for President of the United States at the 1960 Democratic National Convention in Los Angeles, and the Woolworth Company lunch counter in Greensboro, North Carolina, the location of the sit-in that had sparked demonstrations by Negroes across the southern United States, serves a meal to its first black customer. In Chicago, the 1960 Republican National Convention nominates Vice President Richard Nixon as its candidate for President of the United States and Henry Cabot Lodge Jr. as its candidate to become the new Vice President.
Just you know why.
Here's Buddy Holly, True Love Ways.
Why you and I will by and by know true love ways. Sometimes we'll sigh, sometimes we'll cry, and we'll know why just you and I know true love ways. Throughout the days, our true love ways will bring us joys to share with those who really care. Sometimes we'll sigh, sometimes we'll cry, and we'll know why just you and I know true love Sometimes we'll sigh, sometimes we'll cry, and we'll know why just you and how true love was.
And in August 1960, the newly named Beatles begins a 48-night residency at the Indra Club in Hamburg, West Germany. The trial of the American U-2 pilot Francis Gary Powers begins in Moscow, and Cold War in Moscow, the American U-2 Francis Gary Powers is sentenced to 10 years in prison for espionage. The Sputnik program, the Soviet Union launches the satellite Sputnik 5, with the dogs Belka and Shaika, the Russian for squirrel and little arrow, 40 mice, 2 rats, and a variety of plants. The satellite returns to Earth the next day, and all animals are recovered safely. The 1960 Summer Olympics Games begin in Rome. Here's Connie Francis, Everybody's Somebody's Fool from 1960.
The tears I cried for you could fill an ocean, but you don't care how many tears I cried. And though you only leave me out and hurt me, I couldn't bring myself to say goodbye. 'Cause everybody's somebody's fool. Everybody's somebody's plaything, and there are no exceptions to the rule. Yes, everybody's somebody's fool. I told myself it's best that I forget you. Though I'm a fool, at least I know the score. Yeah, darling, I'd be twice as blue without you. It hurts, but I'd come running back for more. 'Cause everybody's somebody's fool. Everybody's somebody's plaything, and there are no exceptions to the rule. Yes, everybody's somebody's fool. Someday you'll find someone you really care for, and if her love should prove to be untrue, you'll know how much this heart of mine is breaking. You'll cry for her the way I cried for you. Yes, everybody's somebody's fool. Everybody's somebody's plaything, and there are no exceptions to the rule. Yes, everybody's somebody's fool.
In September 1960, the 1960 Summer Olympic Games, Cassius Clay wins the gold medal in light heavyweight boxing. Also, the countries of Iran, Iraq, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, and Venezuela form OPEC. The leading candidates for President of the United States, Richard Nixon and John F. Kennedy, made their first televised debate. Here's Chubby Checker.
Come on, baby, let's do the twist. Come on, baby, let's do the twist. Take me by my little hand and go like this. Yeah, twist, baby, twist. Ooh, yeah.
And we'll be back with more of the Voyage of Rock and Roll with Dancin' Dan Curtis, the year 1960, when we return.
You're listening to Dancin' Dan and the Voyage of Rock and Roll on SOS Radio, the sound of the Strand.
It seems we stood and talked like this before. We looked at each other in the same way then, but I can't remember where or when. The clothes you're wearing are the clothes you wore. The smile you are smiling, you were smiling then, but I can't remember where or when. Some things that happen for the first time seems to be happening again. And so it seems that we have met before and laughed before and loved before, but who knows where or when?
That's Dion and the Belmonts from 1960, Where or When. You've joined the Voyage of Rock and Roll, the year 1960. Here's what was happening in October of 1960. The Cold War. Soviet Premier Nikita Khrushchev pounds his shoe on a table at a meeting of the United States General Assembly, his way of protesting the discussion of the Soviet Union's policy toward Eastern Europe. Also, the Pittsburgh Pirates won the 1960 World Series of Baseball in Game 7 on a home run hit by Bill Mazeroski for a 10-9 victory over the New York Yankees. It was the first time in the history of the series that a homer had won the championship. Also, Robert F. Kennedy telephones Coretta Scott King, the wife of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and he also secures King's release from jail regarding a traffic violation in Atlanta, Georgia. Also in Louisville, Kentucky, Cassius Clay, later Muhammad Ali, wins the first professional boxing match.
Step, 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 step.
Step by step, I fell in love with you, and step by step, it wasn't hard to do. Kiss by kiss and hand in hand, that's the way it all began. Soon we found the perfect plan for love. Side by side, we took a lover's walk, and word by word, we had a lover's talk. One word led to another, and then in no time we were up to 10. My heart knew it was gonna end in love.
First step,
A sweet hello,
second step,
my heart's aglow.
third step,
We had a date,
fourth step,
stayed out late.
fifth step,
I walked you home,
sixth step,
we're all alone.
7th step we took a chance. One kiss and true romance, step by step. We climbed to heaven's door and step by step. Each thrill invited more than you promised faithfully. All your love belonged to me. Now I know we'll always be in love. A sweet hello. Second step. My heart's aglow. Third step. We had a date. Fourth step. Stayed out late. Fifth step. I walked you home. Sixth step. We're all alone. 7th step. We took a chance. One kiss and true romance. Step by step. We climbed to heaven's door and step by step. Each thrill invited more than you promised faithfully. All your love belonged to me. Now I know we'll always be in love. Step, step. Step, step. Step, step. Step, step.
That's a Crest, Step by Step from 1960. In November of 1960, in a close race, John F. Kennedy is elected over Richard Nixon to become, at 43, the second youngest man to serve as the President of the United States and the youngest man elected to this position. Sammy Davis Jr. marries the Swedish actress May Britt, and the professional basketball player Wilt Chamberlain of the Philadelphia 76ers gets 55 rebounds in an NBA game versus the Boston Celtics. All that happening in November of 1960.
You can dance, every dance with the guy who gives you the eye, let him hold you tight. You can smile, every smile for the man who held your hand neath the pale moonlight. But don't forget who's taking you home and in whose arms you're gonna be. So darling, say the last dance for me. Oh, I know that the music's fine, like sparkling wine. Go and have your fun. Laugh and sing. But while we're apart, don't give your heart to anyone. But don't forget who's taking you home and in whose arms you're gonna be. So darling, say the last dance for me. Baby, don't you know I love you so? Can't you feel it when we touch? I will never, never let you go. I love you oh so much. You can dance, go and carry on till the night is gone and it's time to go. If he asks, if you're all alone, can he take you home? You must tell him no. 'Cause don't forget who's taking you home and in whose arms you're gonna be. So darling, say the last dance for me. 'Cause don't forget who's taking you home and in whose arms you're gonna be. So darling, say the last dance for me. Say the last dance for me. Say the last dance for me.
If you're gonna give me good kisses like that, honey, don't you know I'm gonna give them right back. That's a kiss and get away. Ah, that's a kiss and get away. Now that's a kiss and get away. Mess around and fall in love.
If you're gonna start out hugging me tight, don't mess around, just hug me right, 'cause that's a hugging good way. That's a hugging good way.
I'm with you there.
That's a hugging good way to mess around and fall in love.
Dig church. You remember this? You know you called me on the phone.
Yeah, baby.
And just because I was alone, yes, you came around wooing.
Admit it.
You better ask somebody if you don't know what you're doing.
Now you kissed me and you rocked my soul. Don't come around knocking rock and roll, 'cause that's a rockin' good way.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes, that's a rockin' good way.
Yeah.
That's a rockin' good way to mess around and fall in love. Well, you know you called me on the phone, and just because I was all alone,
that's why I called you, baby.
You came around wooing. You'd better ask somebody if you don't know what you're doing.
Now that you kissed me and rocked my soul, don't come around knocking rock and roll. That's a rockin' good way. Dinah, that's a rockin' good way.
You, baby.
That's a rockin' good way to mess around and fall in love.
You better know it, baby.
I'm digging you.
It's a rockin' good way.
And I love to rock. How about you?
And baby, you got what it takes.
Ain't that something? You dig the rock?
I say,
cool.
Stay out of my spot.
Oh, yeah.
And finishing up the year in news, Boynton versus Virginia, the Supreme Court declares that segregation in public transportation is illegal in the United States. And for the first time, Mary Martin appears as Peter Pan on NBC, and later it is broadcast on videotape, enabling NBC to repeat it as often as they wish. MGM's The Wizard of Oz has returned on CBS only a year after its previous telecast, thus beginning the tradition of annual telecast of the film. The Supreme Court of the United States upholds a lower federal court ruling that the state of Louisiana's law on racial segregation laws are unconstitutional and overturns them. All that happening in December of 1960. And we'll be back with more of the Voyage of Rock and Roll in just a minute.
Celebrate life, liberty, and the best in beach music on SOS Radio, the sound of the Strand.
Don't want your love anymore. Don't want your kisses, that's for sure. I die each time I hear this sound. Here he comes, that's Kathy's clown. I've gotta stand tall. You know a man can crawl. Oh, when he knows you tell lies and he lives on passing by, he's not a man at all. Don't want your love anymore. Don't want your kisses, that's for sure. I die each time I hear this sound. Here he comes, that's Kathy's clown. When you see me shed a tear, and you know that it's sincere, don't you think it's kinda sad that you're treating me so bad, or don't you even care? Don't want your love anymore. Don't want your kisses, that's for sure. I die each time I hear this sound. Here he comes, that's Kathy's clown. That's Kathy's clown.
And welcome back to the Voyage of Rock and Roll, the year 1960, and that was the Everly Brothers with Kathy's Clown. Here's what was happening in music in 1960. Elvis Presley is promoted to sergeant in the U.S. Army. Songwriter Jess Belvin dies in an automobile accident in Los Angeles. Belvin was the co-author of Earth Angel, the Penguins classic from 1954. Elvis Presley returns home from serving in the U.S. Army, and Skokian by Bill Haley and his Comets becomes the band's final single to make it into the American sales charts, with the exception of the 1974 reissue of Rock Around the Clock.
Hey now, hey now, hey now, hey now, it's finger popping time. Finger popping time. I feel so good. Woo! And that's a real good sign. Hey now, hey now, hey now, hey now, hey baby, come along with me. Hey, hey, hey baby, come along with me. We're gonna shake it till it breaks. Just wait and see. Hey now, hey now, hey now, hey now, it's finger popping time. Finger popping time. I feel so good, and that's a real good sign. Here comes Mary, here comes Sue, here comes Johnny and Bobby too. It's finger popping time. I feel so good, and that's a real good sign. Hey now, hey now, hey now, hey now, hey now, here comes Mary, here comes Sue, here comes Johnny and Bobby too. It's finger popping time. I feel so good, and that's a real good sign. Hey now, hey now, hey now, hey now, it's finger popping time. Finger popping time. I feel so good, and that's a real good sign.
Ooh, you come on like a dream, peaches and cream, lips like strawberry wine. You're 16, you're beautiful and you're mine. You're all ribbons and curls, ooh, what a girl, eyes that twinkle and shine. You're 16, you're beautiful and you're mine. You're my baby, you're my pet. We fell in love on the night we met. You touching my hand, my heart went pop. And ooh, when we kissed, we could not stop. You walked out of my dreams, into my arms. Now you're my angel divine. You're 16, you're beautiful and you're mine. You're 16, you're beautiful and you're mine. You're 16, you're beautiful and you're mine. Oh well, you're my baby, you're my pet. We fell in love on the night we met. You touched my hand, my heart went pop. And ooh, when we kissed, we could not stop. You walked out of my dreams, into my arms. Now you're my angel divine. You're 16, you're beautiful and you're mine. Well, you're 16, you're beautiful and you're mine.
Johnny Burnett, you're 16, you're beautiful, and you're mine. You're listening to Dancing Dan Curtis and the Voyage of Rock and Roll. The year 1960. The National Association of Recording Merchandisers presents its first annual awards in Las Vegas, Nevada, and RCA Victor Records announces that it will release all pop singles in mono and stereo simultaneously, the first record company to do so. Elvis Presley's single Stuck on You is RCA's first mono stereo release. Eddie Cochran, Gene Vincent, and Cochran's girlfriend Sharon Shealy are injured in a car accident near Chipperham, Wiltshire. Cockerham dies in the hospital in Bath, England, from severe brain injuries. Elvis Presley returns to Hollywood for the first time since coming home from Germany to film G.I. Blues.
Give us a room with a view of the beautiful Rhine. Give us a room with a view of the beautiful Rhine. Give me a muddy old creek in Texas any old time. I got those 1, 2, 3, 4 occupation GI blues. From my GI hand to the heels of my GI shoes. And if I don't go stateside soon, I'm gonna blow my fuse. We'll get Hoss and Pfeffer and Black Pumpernickel for chow. We get Hoss and Pfeffer and Black Pumpernickel for chow. I blow my next month's pay for a slice of Texas cow. We'd like to be heroes, but all that we do here is march. We'd like to be heroes, but all that we do here is march. And they don't give the Purple Heart for a fallen arch. I got the 1, 2, 3, 4 occupation GI blues. From my GI to the heels of my GI shoes. And if I don't go stateside soon, I'm gonna pull my fuse. The Fraulein's are pretty as flowers, but we can't make a pass. The Fraulein's are pretty as flowers, but we can't make a pass. 'Cause they're always signs saying keep it here on the grass. I got the 1, 2, 3, 4 occupation GI blues. From my GI hand to the heels of my GI shoes. And if I don't go stateside soon, I'm gonna blow my fuse. Occupation GI blues. Occupation GI blues. Buddy.
Dreaming, I'm always dreaming. Dreaming, love will be mine. Searching, I'm always searching. Hoping, someday I'll find someone to love me. Someone who needs me. But until then, well, I'll keep on dreaming. Keep right on dreaming. Dreaming till my dreaming comes true. Dreaming, I'm always dreaming. Dreaming, love will be mine. Searching, I'm always searching. Hoping, who needs me. But until then, well, I'll keep on dreaming. Keep right on dreaming. Dreaming till my dreaming comes true.
Now that's Johnny Burnett from 1960, Dreamin'. You're listening to Dancin' Dan Curtis and the Voyage of Rock and Roll, the year 1960, and we'll be back in just a minute.
People are talking about when they listen to SOS Radio.
Anytime, anywhere, driving around, driving to work.
Every time I'm in the car.
SOS Radio, the sound of the Strand.
Hey girl, gather round, pick up what I'm putting down. Oh, baby, I'm your handy man. I'm not the kind that use a pencil or rule. I'm handy with the love and I'm no fool. I fix broken hearts, I know I really can. If your broken hearts need repair, I'm the man to see. I whisper sweet things, you tell all your friends, they'll come running to me. Here is the main thing I want to say. I'm busy 24 hours a day. I fix broken hearts, I know I really can. If your broken hearts need repair, I'm the man to see. I whisper sweet things, you tell all your friends, they'll come running to me. Here is the main thing I want to say. I'm busy 24 hours a day. I fix broken hearts, I know I really can.
That's Jimmy Jones and Handyman here on the Voyage of Rock and Roll. Here's some more news that was happening in the music world in 1960. The Drifters, Benny King, leaves the group and signs a solo record contract with Atco Records. An opening of Lionel Bart's Oliver is in the West End. Also, the Beatles make their debut in Hamburg, Germany. The band at the time included John Lennon, Paul McCartney, George Harrison, and Stu Sutcliffe as bass, and Pete Best on drums. The Louisiana Hayride put on its final radio show, and Sammy Davis Jr. marries Mae Britt. And the last 78 RPM records are released in the U.S. and also in the U.K.
You talk too much, you worry me to death. You talk too much, you even worry my pet. You just talk too much. You talk about people that you don't know. You talk about people wherever you go. You just talk too much. You talk about people that you never seen. You talk about people, you can make me scream. You just talk too much. about people, you can make me scream. You just talk too much.
Now you've heard the story of the hot rod race when the Ford and the Mercury was setting a pace. That story's true, I'm here to say, 'cause I was a driving that Model A. It's got a Lincoln motor and it's really souped up, and that Model A body makes it look like a pup. It's got 8 cylinders and use them all with an overdrive that just won't stall. Got a 4-barrel carb and a dual exhaust, 411 gears that can really get lost. Got safety tubes and I'm not scared. The brakes are good and the tires are fair. We left San Pedro late one night. The moon and the stars were shining bright. Everything went fine up the Grapevine Hill. We was passing cars like they was standing still. Then all of a sudden, like the flick of an eye, a Cadillac sedan passed us by. The remark was made, "That's the car for me," but then the tail light was all you could see. Well, the fellers ribbed me for being behind, so I started to make that Lincoln unwind. Took my foot off the gas, and man alive, I shoved it down into overdrive. Well, I wound it up to 110, twisted the speedometer cable off the end, had my foot feet clear to the floor, says that's all there is, ain't no more. Went around a corner and I passed a truck. I crossed my fingers just for luck. The fenders clicking, the guardrail post, the guys beside me, white as a ghost. I guess they thought I had lost my sense. The telephone poles looked like a picket fence. It said, "Slow down, I see spots. The lines in the road, they just look like dots." Smoke was rolling out of the back. When I started to gain on that Cadillac, I knew I could catch him and I hope I could pass, but when I did, I'd be short on gas. Side, you could feel the tension, man, what a ride. I said, "Hold on, I got a license to fly," and the Cadillac pulled over and let me by. Then all of a sudden, the rod started knocking. Down in the dip, she started a rocking. I looked in the mirror and the red light was blinking. The cops was after my hot rod Lincoln. Well, they arrested me and they put me in jail. I called my pop to go my bail. He said, "Son, you're gonna drive me to drinking if you don't quit driving that hot rod Lincoln."
Anyone under 40 probably doesn't know what baby boomers mean by black and white. Rabbit ears, snow, and test patterns, nor do they know who said, "Aw, gee, Wally." There was the American Bandstand and Dick Clark and Clark Kent, Jimmy Olsen and Lois Lane. The wave of the baby boomers started school in the easygoing 1950s and then experienced a wide range of political and societal events in the 60s. President John F. Kennedy spoke to many baby boomers when he said, "Ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country." Boomers joined the Peace Corps and did good and great things around the world. And there is not one of the older baby boomers who do not remember exactly where they were when President Kennedy was assassinated on November the 22nd, 1963. Then the Beatles invaded America and the revolution in music began. We could make a difference and change the world. The escalation of the Vietnam War, our brothers, husbands, and friends were drafted, and 58,249 names listed on a black wall in Washington, D.C. Disillusionment with the government. Don't trust anyone over 30. Sit-ins, the Civil Rights Movement, riots, and Resurrection City. Do you remember Barney Fife and the Little Rascals, Gunsmoke, Saturday morning westerns with Gene Autry, Roy Rogers and Dale Evans, and The Lone Ranger, Mr. Wizard, Lassie, and Rin Tin Tin, M-I-C-K-E-Y, M-O-U-S-C, Miss Nancy and Miss Sally, and their magic mirror on Romper Room. Say, kids, what time is it? Captain Kangaroo, transistor radios, the Nelsons and the Cleavers, I Love Lucy and Superman, or listening to the first manned space shot over your classroom PA system.
Teen angel, teen angel, teen angel. That fateful night, the car was stalled upon the railroad track. I pulled you out and we were safe, but you went running back. Teen angel, can you hear me? Teen angel, can you see me? Are you somewhere up above? And am I still your own true love? What was it you were looking for that took your life that night? They said they found my high school ring clutched in your fingers tight. Teen angel, can you hear me? Teen angel, can you see me? Are you somewhere up above? And am I still your own true love? Just sweet 16, and now you're gone. They've taken you away. I'll never kiss your lips again. They buried you today. Teen angel, can you hear me? Teen angel, can you see me? Are you somewhere up above? And am I still your own true love? Teen angel, teen angel, answer me, please.
Pretty song by Mark Denning, Teen Angel from 1960. You're listening to Dancin' Dan Curtis, The Voyage of Rock and Roll, the year 1960. And we'll be back with what was on television when we return.
Are we having fun yet?
Relax and enjoy yourself.
SOS Radio, the sound of the Strand.
And welcome back to The Voyage of Rock and Roll. Here's some television theme songs that debuted in 1960. And I'm sure you all remember that one, the Andy Griffith Show from right here in North Carolina. Back in 1960, there was plenty of westerns on TV, and I'm sure you remember some of these theme songs to westerns. Put your thinking caps on.
stay free and fly. Dream, Cheyenne, of a girl you may never know. Keep moving, moving, moving. Oh, they're disapproving. Keep them doggies moving right. Don't try to understand them. Just smoke and throw and brand them. Soon we'll be living high and wide. A gun will travel, reach the card of a man. A knight without armor in a savage land. His fast gun for hire heeds the calling wind. A soldier of fortune is the man called Paladin.
Oh, yes, we loved our westerns back in 1960. Do you remember looking under the tree at Christmas time and getting your 6 guns and cowboy hat? What a time that was. All the westerns that was on TV in 1960. Let's continue now with more music from 1960.
When I see my baby, what do I see? Poetry, poetry in motion, poetry in motion, walking by my side, her lovely locomotion keeps my eyes open wide. Poetry in motion, see her gentle sway, oh, wave out on the ocean, could never move that way. I love every movement, and there's nothing I would change. She doesn't need improvement, she's much too nice to rearrange. Poetry in motion, dancing close to me, a flower of devotion, a swaying gracefully. Whoa. Never move that way. I love every movement, and there's nothing I would change. She doesn't need improvement, she's much too nice to rearrange. Poetry in motion, all that I adore. No number 9 love potion could make me love her more. Whoa, 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 whoa.
the year of 5. February, you're my little Valentine. March, I'm gonna march you down the aisle. April, you're the Easter bunny when you smile. Yeah, yeah, my heart's in a whirl. I love my little calendar girl every day. Every day, every day, every day of the year. Maybe if I ask your dad and mom, they'll let me take you to the junior prom. Like a firecracker, I'm aglow. When you're on the beach, you steal the show. Yeah, yeah, my heart's in a whirl. I love my little calendar girl every day. Every day, every day, every day of the year. My heart's in a whirl. I love my little calendar girl every day. Every day of the year. Light the candles at your sweet 16. Romeo and Juliet on Halloween. November, I'll give thanks that you belong to me. December, you're the present beneath my Christmas tree. Yeah, yeah, my heart's in a whirl. I love my little calendar girl every day. Every day, every day, every day of the year. I love my calendar girl. Yeah, sweet calendar girl. I love my calendar girl.
And that's Neil Sedaka, Calendar Girl, on the Voyage of Rock and Roll. Let me tell you a little bit what was going on in television back in 1960. Jack Parr walks off the TV show because his monologue had been edited the night before in favor of a 3-minute news update. Parr walked out at the beginning of the show announcing that he was quitting, said there's got to be a better way to make a living, and walked off the stage. After a network executive personally apologized, Parr returned to the show a month later. His first show back started with the words, "As I was saying before I was interrupted." Also, American president candidate John F. Kennedy and Richard M. Nixon debate live on television. The candidates' behavior during the debate most likely altered the outcome of the election. In addition to being the first presidential debates to be broadcast on television, the debates also marked the first time split-screen images were used by a network. Also, Norma Zimmer officially became Lawrence Welk's Champagne Lady on The Lawrence Welk Show. All that going on in 1960.
Just a little bit longer. Please, 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 please tell me you're going to. Now your daddy don't mind, and your mommy don't mind, if we have another dance, yeah, just the one more. Come on, let's, yeah, yeah.
And that's Maurice Williams and the Zodiacs, and that was Stay from 1960. You're listening to Dancin' Dan Curtis, The Voyage of Rock and Roll, and we'll be back with what was in the movies when we return.
Celebrate life, liberty, and the best in beach music on SOS Radio, the sound of the Strand.
Here we have a quiet little motel, when in fact it has now become known as the scene of the crime.
Do you have a vacancy?
Oh, we have 12 vacancies.
You know, this is the first place that looks like it's hiding from the world.
I think that we're all in our private traps, clamped in them. And none of us can ever get out.
Is anyone at home?
Oh, that must be my mother.
Is anything wrong?
Am I acting as if there's something wrong?
She's not missing so much as she's run away.
Put me down.
Mother! Oh, God! Mother! What are you running away from?
She looked like a wrong one to you?
It's not as if she were a maniac. She just goes a little mad sometimes.
Why, she wouldn't even harm a fly.
And that's from the 1960 movie Psycho.
I can laugh when things ain't funny. Happy-go-lucky me. Yeah, I can smile when I ain't got no money. Happy-go-lucky me. It may sound silly, but I don't care. I got the moonlight, I got the sun, I've got the stars above. Me and my Billy, well, we both share. Slappy go happy, happy go lucky love. Well, life is sweet, whoa, sweet as honey. Happy go lucky me. It may sound silly, but I don't care. I got the moonlight, I got the sun, I've got the stars above. Me and my Billy, well, we both share. Slappy go happy, happy go lucky love. Well, life is sweet, whoa, yeah, sweet as honey. Happy go lucky me. Happy-go-lucky me.
I love Corina. Tell the world I do. I love Corina. Tell the world I do. I pray every night she'll learn to love me too. Corina, Corina. Corina, 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 I love you so. Oh, little darling, where you been so long? Oh, little darling, where you been so long? I ain't had no love since you've been gone. Corina, 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 Corina. left Corina way across the sea. Oh me, I left Corina way across the sea. If you see Corina, send her home to me. Corina, 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 I love you so. Corina, 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 I love you so. Oh, darling, don't you know?
That's Ray Peterson, Karina Karina from 1960. You're listening to The Voyage of Rock and Roll, and we are stopping at the year 1960, and we're talking about what was in the movies. The 33rd Academy Awards honoring the best in film for 1960 were held on April the 17th, 1961, at the Santa Monica Civic Auditorium in Santa Monica, California. They were hosted by Bob Hope. The apartment marked the last black and white film to win Best Picture during the era when use of black and white film was still common, as well as the last until 1993 when Schindler's List won. Gary Cooper was too ill to attend the ceremony, so his close friend James Stewart accepted the honorary Oscar on his behalf. Stewart's emotional speech hinted that something was seriously wrong, and the next day newspapers ran the headline, "Gary Cooper has cancer." 1 month later, on May the 13th, 1961, 6 days after his 60th birthday, Cooper died.
Climb up, way up high. Climb up, way up high. Climb up, way up high. Well, heavenly angel, I want you for my girl. When I kissed your sweet, sweet lips, I knew that you were out of this world. I'll build a stairway to heaven. I'll climb to the highest star. I'll build a stairway to heaven, 'cause heaven is where you are. Well, over the rainbow, that's where I'm gonna climb. Way up high where the bluebirds fly. I'm gonna love you all of the time. I'll build a stairway to heaven. I'll climb to the highest star. I'll build a stairway to heaven, 'cause heaven is where you are. I'll build a stairway to heaven. I'll climb to the highest star. I'll build a stairway to heaven, 'cause heaven is where you are. Well, I gotta be going. Gonna leave the world behind. Every day in a heavenly way. You're gonna drive me out of my mind. I'll build a stairway to heaven. I'll climb to the highest star. I'll build a stairway to heaven, 'cause heaven is where you are. I'll build a stairway to heaven, 'cause heaven is where you are. Climb up, way up high. Climb up, way up high. Climb up, way up high. Climb up. And they called it puppy love. Oh, I guess they'll never know.
or so. And they called it puppy love, just because we're 17. Tell them all please tell them it isn't fair to take away my only dream. I cry each night my tears for you. My tears are all in vain. Please, is the answer up above? How can I tell them this is not a puppy love? Someone help me, help me, please. Is the answer up above? How can I ever tell them this is not a puppy love?
And that's Paul Anka with Puppy Love from 1960. You're listening to Dancin' Dan Curtis and the Voyage of Rock and Roll, and we've made our stop at 1960. And we'll be back right after these messages.
From the shores of North Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, SOS Radio, the sound of the Strand.
It's Madison time. Hit it. You're looking good, a big strong line. When I say hit it, I want you to go 2 up and 2 back with a big strong turn and back to the Madison. Hit top. You're looking good. Now when I say hit it, I want you to go 2 up and 2 back, double cross, come out of it with the rifleman. Hit top. Face it. Now when I say hit it, I want the big strong M, erase it and back to the Madison. Hit it. Walk on, you're looking good. When I say hit it, it'll be tea time. Hit it. Big strong line. Now when I say hit it, I want the big strong Cleveland box and back to the Madison. Hit it. Now when I say hit it, I want the big strong basketball with the Wilt Chamberlain hook. Hit it. 2 points. Now this time when I say hit it, I want the big strong Jackie Gleason and back to the Madison. Hit it. And away we go. Now that when I say hit it, Birdland, and I say stop. Hit it. little stiff leg there. You're looking good. Now when I say hit it, come out of the birdland back to the Madison. Hit it. Crazy. When I say hit it, go 2 up and 2 back, double cross and freeze. Hit it. And hold it right there.
And that's Ray Bryant combo, the Madison Time, here on Voyage of Rock and Roll. The year 1960, and we're talking about the movies for 1960. For the first time since coming home from military service in Germany, Elvis Presley returns to Hollywood, California to film the G.I. Blues. Also, filming of the West Side Story begins, and filming wraps up on The Misfits, starring Marilyn Monroe and Clark Gable. This was the last film either performed in. Sammy Davis Jr. and Mae Britt got wed, and all that was in the movies in 1960. All right, you're listening to some of the greatest songs of 1960 here on the Voyage of Rock and Roll, and here's the Vibrations with the Watusi.
Steps up and keep it tight and do the 1, 2, 3, be sure it's right. Come on, try sugar pie, keep with the beat and 1, 2, 3, woo, 1, 2, 3. Shimmy your shoulder, slop with your feet and wiggle your hips and time with the beat. Do the bow and arrow, come out in a horse, a pygmy shuffle, then take your choice. Come on, try sugar pie, keep with the beat in 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Oh, it's all right for me, baby. Come on now. 2-step forward, keep it tight. Oh yeah, man.
My mother called me to her side. She said, son, you're growing up now. Pretty soon you'll take a bride. And then she said, just because you become a young man now, there's still some things that you don't understand now. Before you ask some girl for a hand now, keep your freedom for as long as you can now. My mama told me, you better shop around. Oh yeah, you better shop around. Shop around. There's some things that I want you to know now. I guess as sure as the wind's gonna blow now, the women come and the women gonna go now. Before you tell them that you love them so now. My mama told me, you better shop around. Oh yeah, you better shop around. shop around. Don't let the first one get you. Oh no, 'cause I don't wanna see you with you. Before you let them hold you tight. Yeah, make sure she's alright. Before you let them take your hand, my son. Understand, my son. Be a man, my son. I know you.
And that's Smokey Robinson and the Miracles, and that's called Shop Around. We're talking about films in 1960. Here are the top 10 grossing films in 1960. From the Terrace with Paul Newman and Joanne Woodward. Please Don't Eat the Daisies, Doris Day and David Niven. Ocean's 11 with Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, and Sammy Davis Jr. Butterfield 8 with Elizabeth Taylor and Lawrence Harvey. The Apartment with Jack Lemmon and Shirley MacLaine. The Alamo with John Wayne and Richard Widmark. Swiss Family Robinson with John Mills and Dorothy McGuire. Exodus was number 3 with Paul Newman, Ralph Richardson, Eva Marie Saint, Sal Mineo, and Jill Hayworth. And number 2 was Psycho with Anthony Perkins, Vera Miles, John Gavin, Martin Balsam, and Janet Leigh. And the number 1 grossing film of 1960 was Spartacus with Kirk Douglas, Laurence Olivier, Gene Simmons, and Tony Curtis. It earned $14 million.
Well, you can have, I don't want her, she didn't love me anyway. She only wanted someone to play with, but all I wanted was love to stay. Well, if you get the wrong woman, there's only one thing that you can do. Just dig a hole and jump right in it and pull the ground right over you. Well, you can have her. I don't want her. She didn't love me anyway. She only wanted someone to play with, but all I wanted was love to stay. The girl I love, she up and left me. She ran away with my best friend. Comes home at night just for 1 hour. When daylight comes, she's gone again. Well, you can have her. I don't want her. She didn't love me anyway. She only wanted someone to play with, but all I wanted was love to stay. Life without love is mighty empty, but confession's good for the soul. I'd rather have love that I can cling to than have the world and all of its gold. You can have her, I don't want her. She didn't love me anyway. She only wanted someone to play with. Well, you can have her, I don't want her. She didn't love me anyway. She only wanted someone to play with. But all I wanted.
And you're listening to the Voyage of Rock and Roll with Dancin' Dan Curtis, the year 1960. And we'll be back with more Voyage of Rock and Roll after this.
People are talking about SOS Radio.
I like the music you play.
Music's great. SOS Radio, the sound of the Strand.
There's a man in the funny papers we all know. He lives way back a long time ago. He don't eat nothing but a bear cat stew. Well, This cat's name is Alley-oo. He got a chauffeur that's a genuine dinosaur. And he can knuckle your head before you count too far. He got a big ugly club and a head full of hair. Like great big lions and grizzly bears. He's the toughest man there is alive. Wearing clothes from a wildcat's hide. He's the king of the jungle jive. Look at that caveman go. He rides through the jungle tearing limbs off of trees. Knocking great big monsters dead on their knees. The cats don't bug him cause they know better. Cause he's a mean motor scooter and a bad go-getter. He's the toughest man there is alive. Wears clothes from a wildcat's hide. He's the king of the jungle jive. Look at that caveman go. There he goes. Look at that caveman go. He sure is hip, ain't he? Like what's happening? He's too much. Right, daddy, right. Hi-yo, dinosaur. Right, daddy, right. Get him, man. Like...
That's Alley-oop from 1960, the Hollywood Argylls. And you're listening to Dan Curtis, The Voyage of Rock and Roll, the year 1960. Here's a little bit story about this next song. The lyrics of Tell Laura I Love Her originally concerned a rodeo, not an automobile race, as composer Jeff Barry was an aficionado of cowboy culture. And Decca Records in England decided not to release Ray Peterson's 1960 recording on the grounds that it was too tasteless and vulgar, and destroyed about 20,000 copies that had already been pressed. A cover version by Ricky Valance, released by EMI on the Columbia label, was #1 on the UK singles chart for 3 weeks. And here it is, Tell Laura I Love Her.
Laura and Tommy were lovers. He wanted to give her everything. Flowers, presents, and most of all, a wedding ring. He saw a sign for a stock car race, $1,000 prize it read. He couldn't get Laura on the phone, so to her mother Tommy said, "Tell Laura I love her. Tell Laura I need her. Tell Laura I may be late. I've something to do that cannot wait." He drove his car to the racing ground. He was the youngest driver there. The crowd roared as they started the race. Round the track they drove at a deadly pace. No one knows what happened that day, how his car overturned in flames. But as they pulled him from the twisted wreck, with his dying breath, they heard him say, "Tell Laura I love her. Tell Laura I need her. Tell Laura not to cry. My love for her will never die." Now in the chapel, well, Laura prays for her Tommy who passed away. It was just for Laura he lived and died. Alone in the chapel she can hear him cry. Tell Laura I love her. Tell Laura I need her. Tell Laura not to cry. My love for her will never die. Tell Laura I love her. Tell Laura
Young emotions are mixed emotions, for it's a world where love and confusion reign, a world of hope and laughter and tears and pain, at times a gentle breeze then a hurricane, a world full of doubt, but love works it out. Young emotions are strange emotions, for though we're brave sometimes we are so afraid, but knowing there are memories to be made, we'll face each new tomorrow, dear, undismayed, for our love will keep us together, and our love will help us to weather these young emotions. For though we're brave, sometimes we are so afraid, but knowing there are memories to be made, we'll face each new tomorrow, dear, undismayed, for our love will keep us together, and our love will help us to weather these young emotions.
And that's Rick Nelson, Young Emotions from 1960. This is Dan Curtis. You're listening to The Voyage of Rock and Roll. Here's Frankie Avalon and Why.
I'll never let you go. Why? Because I love you. I'll always love you so. Why? Because you love me. No broken hearts for us, 'cause we love each other. And with our faith and trust, there could be no other. Why? 'Cause I love you. Why? 'Cause you love me. I think you're awfully sweet. Why? Because I love you. You say I'm your special treat. Why? Because you love me. We found the perfect love. Yes, a love that's yours and mine. I love you and you love me all the time.
I'll never let you go. Why? Because I
Yes, I love you.
I'll always love you so. Why? Because you love me.
Yes, you love me. We found the perfect love. Yes, a love that's yours and mine. I love you and you love me. I love you and you love me. We'll love each other, dear, forever.
You can shake an apple off an apple tree. Shake a sugar, but you'll never shake me. No siree. I'm gonna stick like glue. Stick because I'm stuck on you. I'm gonna run my fingers through your long black hair and squeeze you tighter than a grizzly bear. Yes, siree. I'm gonna stick like glue. Stick because I'm stuck on you. Hide in the kitchen, hide in the hall. Ain't gonna do you no good at all. 'Cause once I catch you and the kissing starts, a team of wild horses couldn't tear us apart. I gotta take a tiger from his daddy's side, and that's how our love is gonna keep us tied. Oh yeah. I'm gonna stick like glue. Stick because I'm stuck on you. Hide in the kitchen, hide in the hall. Ain't gonna do you no good at all. 'Cause once I catch you and the kissing starts, a team of wild horses couldn't tear us apart. I gotta take a tiger from his daddy's side, and that's how our love is gonna keep us tied. Yes, siree. I'm gonna stick like glue. Yeah, yeah, because I'm stuck on you. I'm gonna stick like glue. Yeah, yeah, because
Elvis Presley from 1960 on the Voyage of Rock and Roll.
You're listening to Dancin' Dan and the Voyage of Rock and Roll on SOS Radio, the sound of the Strand.
This time I'm walking to New Orleans. I'm walking to New Orleans. I'm gonna need to parachute when I get through walking these blues. When I get back to New Orleans, I've got my suitcase in my hand. Now ain't that a shame? I'm leaving here today. Yes, I'm going back home to stay. Yes, I'm walking to New Orleans. You used to be my honey till you spent all my money. No use for you to cry. I see you by and by. I'm walking to New Orleans. I've got no time for talking. I've got to keep on walking. New Orleans is my home. That's the reason why I'm gone. Yes, I'm walking to New Orleans. I'm walking to New Orleans. I'm walking to New Orleans.
And that's Fats Domino. He's walking down to New Orleans. And that's Cajun country. And since we've already walked to New Orleans, here is Gary U.S. Bonds and New Orleans.
I said, hey, 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 yeah. I said, hey, hey, yeah. Well, come on, everybody, take a trip with me. Well, down the Mississippi, down to New Orleans. They got the honeysuckle blooming on the honeysuckle vine. And the love is a blooming there all the time. You know, every Southern belle is a Mississippi queen. Down the Mississippi, down in New Orleans. I said, hey, 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 yeah. I said, hey, 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 yeah. Well, come on, take a stroll down the Basin Street. Yeah, listen to the music with the Dixieland beat. Oh, where the magnolia blossoms, they fill the air. Yeah, if you ain't been to heaven, then you ain't been there. They got the rich moss hanging from a big oak tree. Down the Mississippi, down in New Orleans. I said, hey, 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 yeah. I said, look out, child, yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, come on, everybody, take a trip with me. Well, down the Mississippi, down to New Orleans. Well, the honeysuckle blooming on the honeysuckle vine. Yeah, and the love is a blooming there all the time. You know, every Southern belle is a Mississippi queen. Down the Mississippi, down in New Orleans.
And did you notice how he said New Orleans and how Fats Domino, who was born in New Orleans, calls it New Orleans? All right, here's some people that were born in 1960. And if you were born in 1960, you're probably around 55 years old. Sean Penn was born in 1960, along with Valerie Bertinelli, Fernando Valenzuela, Aaron Moran, Jane Lynch, and Mehmet Oz, all born in 1960. Here's the Shirelles, Tonight's the Night.
You said you're gonna meet me tonight, the night. You say you're gonna kiss me tonight, the night. I don't know, that I don't know right now. I might love you so. You say you're gonna make me turn the lights down low. Say you're gonna make me
That's the sound of the men working on the chain gang. That's the sound of the men working on the chain gang. All day long they're saying, that's the sound of the men working on the chain gang. That's the sound of the men working on the chain gang. All day long they work so hard till the sun is going down. Working on the highways and byways and wearing a frown. You hear them moaning their lives away. Then you hear somebody say, that's the sound of the men working on the chain gang. That's the sound of the men working on the chain gang. Can't you hear them saying, I'm going home one of these days. I'm going home, see my woman whom I love so dear. But meanwhile, I've got to work right here. That's the sound of the men working on the chain gang. That's the sound of the men working on the chain gang. All day long they're saying, my work is so hard, give me water, I'm thirsty,
That's Sam Cooke, Chain Gang from 1960. Here's a few more people that were born in 1960. Cal Ripken Jr., Hugh Grant, Colin Firth, John F. Kennedy Jr., Robin Roberts from GMA, Bono, and Scott Baio, Chachi from Happy Days, all born in 1960.
Dum 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 doo wah. Ooh yeah 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 yeah. Oh 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 wah. Only the lonely, only the lonely,
Only the lonely
dum 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 doo wah.
know the way I feel tonight. Only the lonely know this feeling ain't right. There goes my baby, there goes my heart, they're gone forever, so far apart. But only the lonely know why I cry. Only the lonely
say goodbye to me. Now I'm as lonely as could be. And as I feel a teardrop fall, I hear your footsteps down the hall, walking away from me. Why did you say goodbye? Why did you make me cry? Now every day I wonder why, oh why, oh footsteps, 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 footsteps. You're such a haunting memory. I pray that you'll come back to me. But as I say my evening prayer, I hear your footsteps on the stairs, walking away from me. Why did you say goodbye? Why did you make me cry? Now every day I wonder why, oh why, oh footsteps, 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 footsteps.
And that's Steve Lawrence, Footsteps from 1960. In 1960, we lost Ward Bond from Wagon Train and also Clark Gable. Thank you for joining me for the internet version of the Voyage of Rock and Roll 1960. Search the web for 1961. Don't forget, if you like beach music, go to soundofthestrand.com. Hit that play button. We're on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week without commercials. And you can also go to your Google Home or Alexa and simply say, play Sound of the Strand on TuneIn, on Live 365, also on TuneIn Radio. See you guys next time.